What's going on? What's going on, y'all? It's part two of the story of the Melanin warrior, Samori Toure. So y'all go ahead and sit back, relax, you know what I'm saying? Soak in this information. It's the Melanin Warriors podcast, baby. Let's go. So we are back with part two of the Melanin warrior Samori Toure. Let's go ahead and jump back in. So the French began to expand in West Africa in the late 1870s. They began to push east to Senegal to reach the Upper Nile, which today is Sudan. They were attempting to get with their base to the southeast of Cotet de Lavier because of this conflict with Samori Toure. They was trying to get with their people, get some backup, things like that, because they knew they were in for a fight. In February 1882, a French expedition attacked one of Toure's armies. Toure beat them back, but what was extremely alarming was the discipline and firepower of the French troops. So there were several ways he decided to deal with the French. First thing he did was expand the southwest with Liberia. In January 1885, he sent an envoy to Freetown, basically getting aid for his kingdom through British protection. The British didn't want to fight with the French, so instead of sending troops, they allowed Samori Toure to buy repeating rifles. So basically, instead of giving him their, from the heart support, they opted out to sell him some firearms. And, I'll take it. I got it. So in 1885, a French expedition under the command of Colonel A.V.A. Combs attempted to take the Bourre goldfields. Toure's forces counterattacked, and the strategy he used was he divided his army into three mobile columns. He made it past the French communication lines, and then they were forced to quickly withdraw. So long story short, he split his entire army up into three columns, and they weaved out of the way, they got out of the way of the French communication line, so they can't report the attack was happening, and boom, they hit them quick, fast, and they withdrew. Compared to other stories of Melanin warriors in Africa, Samori had a well-equipped army with modern rifles and a very complex permanent unit structure. His army was divided into an infantry wing of Sofa, which is Mandinka for infantry, and a lot of time the infantry was made up of the conquered, the different armies he'd beaten. They were, and a lot of people did this in these times and before these times, they conquered a city or state or country or whatever and made their warriors their own. And it also came with the cavalry wing that by 1887, Samori would have an army of 30,000 to 35,000 infantry, 3,000 cavalry, and they were broken down into squads of 50. But the French, aware of how powerful his army was, didn't want to give him time to strengthen his position. So in March 1891, the French, commanded by Colonel Louis Archinard, launched an attack on Cancan. Being aware that the French artillery would destroy Toure's fortifications, Toure began to battle a battle of maneuver, which is moving carefully and manipulating the French to gain the tactical advantage. But he failed to push them back. In June of 1892, Archinard was replaced by Colonel Humbert, and with a small force was able to capture Samori Toure's capital of Bensendugu. This victory was due to the British they stopped their supplying Toure of his small arms and things, and they stuck to the Brussels Conference Act of 1890, which was simply an anti-slavery document that put an end to slavery in this part of the world. And the problem with that was, like I said, the conquered were a part of Samori Toure's military. So they were against him having basically slave soldiers in his army. So they just stopped messing with him to keep the act in place on their part. So Toure, an amazing military leader and ruler of his people who continued to stand against the French, winning and losing his fair share of battles. This has been part two, guys, of the story of the Melanin warrior, Samori Toure. Y'all go ahead and join me next week for the final episode of this amazing Melanin warrior. And if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. It's your boy. Let's go.